Well, guys, second. There we go. Got a nice glare going on here. Well, I can tell you one thing. I know almost for certain that this particular video is going to reach a lot of people, because the amount of technological and just physical problems I had starting this broadcast for no discernible reason were, you know, let's just say there was a few of them. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay. Because I got this thing, there's like a very kind of sizable panel here on this old 2004 car that I'm driving. And when I have the phone on there, the sound's a little off. So let me know if the sound is okay. Just, you know, give me like a signal here. See, there you go. Wi-Fi keeps trying to work. Yes, we do hear you. Okay, fantastic. Fantastic. Okay. So, guys, you know, this is not the first time in the history of the world, nor of the Jewish people, where, you know, the entire world, when I say the entire world, I really mean, it's actually not the entire world in terms of population. It's the mainstream zeitgeist, the entirety of the mainstream media, you know, popular culture. This isn't the first time where the entirety of that apparatus stood on one side, and where, you know, you have like, I mean, a good amount of people, but really a few people who openly are standing against them. This is not the first time, my friends. As I said before in you know, 2 previous videos, the first anti-mainstream media, I guess, narrative person, first famous anti-mainstream media person was none other than Avraham Avinu, our first patriarch. And as you guys could see, you know, you could say Western civilization stemmed from him, but it's not just Western civilization, because, you know, he sent gifts to the East. So you're talking about what we now know today as, let's say, monotheism, which stemmed into, well, primarily Judaism, which I don't even like saying that term. It's kind of a very Yadut. There's no such thing, really. It's just belief in Hashem and Torah and mitzvot and His commandments, right? So from there stemmed eventually Islam, which is basically, you know, the legacy of Ishmael, of Abraham's son, one of Abraham's sons, Yitzhak's half-brother. And then you have, I guess, Christianity, which is already like Edom, Asaph, and all that jazz, as we say. But then on the other side, if you guys want to look at, you know, what academics call dharmic religions, you have Buddhism, Hinduism, Taoism, and all these things, which actually also came from Avraham Avinu. So basically, my friends, the entirety of civilization as we know it today stemmed from one man, one desire, And no, it wasn't Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson, no. It was Avraham Avinu. It stemmed from one man who basically saw what was going on around the world, saw what was going on with, you know, I guess a gentleman by the name of Nimrod, or some people like to say Nimrod. Like a Nimrod, you know? He saw what was going on. And he said, listen, you know, and he saw what was going on also with like the idol worship, which I mentioned yesterday, where people basically became enthralled in just one path, to where they thought that going in that one path, to where they thought in their case it was actually worshiping physical idols, to where they thought that this was going to be the saving grace, their saving grace, really. And he said, no, I'm so sorry. You know, worshiping the sun and worshiping the rain god and worshiping the stone and worshiping this tree is not going to be your saving grace. What's going to be your maybe saving grace, and he was saying, I even hate to use that terminology, is going to be the fact that there is one entity, let's put it that way. You can't even call it God. The word God in English is the wrong terminology to use. It's probably the closest, it's only maybe the closest translation that we can find for Hashem, right? It's really not sufficient. It doesn't work. He just understood internally that there's an entity that creates all and sustains all. And it's constant. It's a constant recreation. If it wasn't for the constants, you know, or the ever creating kind of state of this being, of this entity, the world would cease to exist. We know that, you know, we learn Kabbalah, Hasidut, we know these ideas. We understand. Avraham Volozhin talked about it. So, Avraham Avinu understood that without any books, without any sages or rabbis. He was the first sage, really. He understood that. And as I mentioned before, you know, imagine, I don't know, the son of the biggest idol seller, the biggest idol, you know, Amazon seller. You're talking about the son of George Soros coming and saying, well, guys, what my father is doing is complete BS. What he's engaging in, you guys think that he is selling you, you know, your saving grace. What he's selling in reality is basically, I mean, it's not really even snake oil. It's just worthless. And so it took a guy like that, you know, the son of the biggest idol salesman at the time, was basically the tikkun for that, my friends. And he came and he said, listen, and that's why they called him Avraham HaIvri. He was on the other side of the world. He was on the other side of where the mainstream media narrative, let's put it that way, was standing. My friends, you know, today we have a situation where, listen, I would say more than 50% of the people understand that what's being sold here, and I think you guys know what I'm talking about. What's being sold here is complete BS, right? It's a sham. It's like, I call it a Ponzi scheme. I made a whole separate video about this. It's a Ponzi scheme. It doesn't work unless everybody's in, right? Meaning, if you're coming and you're saying, well, you took something and you're safe for me, but then you're telling me that I have to take it for me to be safe in both, you know, it's like spy versus spy, you know? You guys ever see the video game? For both of us to be safe, you know, this is the spy wearing white and this is the spy wearing black, you know? The whole thing doesn't make any sense. The logic of it just falls apart, my friends. But this is the world we live in. We live in a world bereft of emes, bereft of truth, of emet. And people cannot fathom it when shown truth to their face. You know, as Yuri Bezmenov says, the people are so demoralized, they cannot fathom it when the truth is shown to their face. And a lot of people, even with that, a lot of people understand the truth, my friends. And the only problem is that they are afraid to publicly and openly say that, for fear of being ostracized, for fear of losing their job. Fear. You know, they have a bigger fear of that than actually their fear of the disease, really. They have a bigger fear of their peers, of their fellow man, coming at them and basically bullying them and ostracizing them and all the rest of it, my friends. That's really the fear that most people have, guys. That's essentially the fear that most people have. But, my friends, there are a few people, I try to be one of them, I try, who basically, you know, by me, it's not even like, you know, people could say, oh, it's so, you know, takes a lot of courage and this and that and the other. My friends, it's not, for me, it's not, honestly, I'm not that courageous. For me, I just actually have just an aversion to lies. I have an aversion to lies, I have an allergy to lies, and I cannot live, I can't live it down. You know, I can't exist in a world where there's lies. And if I have the power to at least bring some truth, kernel of truth to the world, or to my little tiny quadrant of people who are listening, and even if they know already, even if it's like a, you know, an echo chamber, even if they agree with me already going in, it doesn't even matter, because the point is, people lose morale. People need to be mahazik. People need to be strengthened, right? For me, guys, you know, again, it's like therapy, right? I'm no Avraham Avinu, I'm no Moshe Rabbeinu. For me, this is like therapy. For me, I you know, if I don't talk to you guys, I have my group of friends who I talk to about this, but you know, it's like, otherwise you go crazy, right? Baruch Hashem, you know, like my business partners, you know, we're like-minded in that way. Okay, you know, what do they say? The few, the proud, the Marines, you know. So, but guys, there are those people who have more to lose than I do. You know, I was just watching a podcast. It was on Joe Rogan. This guy Alex Berenson. So he's been doing kind of what I've been doing, except this guy, you know, at one point he had about 300 and something thousand followers, 350,000 followers on Twitter, right? And he was just giving stats and figures and legitimate, you know, verifiable things and information. Nothing, you know, conspiracy, no conspiracy theories. And the guy basically got deplatformed. He got taken off of Twitter. And now this guy, today, his appearance on Joe Rogan's podcast was posted. It's a 3.5-hour discussion, my friends. You know, a guy like that, guys, a guy like that and others like him, they have a lot to lose. And there's a few of them out there, you know, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on LinkedIn. You know, another one is like Dr. Malone. Dr. Malone, you know, he's one of the people who had a hand in inventing the technology called mRNA. He didn't invent this, whatever they claim is a cure, is a treatment, but he created, I mean, is the drug. He didn't invent the drug, but he invented the tech. He was one of the people instrumental in working on the tech. He was. You can look this up, Dr. Robert Malone, and he's out there every single day, you know, posting what he's posting, right? He's also got a lot to lose. He's got his reputation to lose. He you know, this is a person. Sorry, one sec, guys. This is a person who, yeah, I mean, he's got his whole, you know, he could be, Chas v'Shalom, they could take away his medical, license, his boards, whatever it is. Just like, you know, Rudy Giuliani had a lot to lose. He got his what is it called? He got disbarred from practicing law in New York, right? So, my friends, you know, like, And this is what I've been saying. I've been saying, you know, people always say, well, you know, you're only listening to the set of doctors you agree with. And I say, it's not a question of I agree with them or not. It's a question of what is the motive and what do these people have to gain and what do they have to lose. You know, a lot of the people that are pushing the thing, my friends, there's money involved. There's really a lot of money involved. They're being paid. They're being paid. They're being threatened. They're being, you know, sometimes they're giving honorifics, you know, kavod. My friends, it doesn't take a lot to stand in a place where you can get paid and you can be given kavod, you know, given honor, and you know, or where somebody just comes and says, if you don't do this, if you don't say this, I'm gonna, you know, it's your head. My friends, I mean, that on that note, actually, it takes a lot to go against. The easy way out, my friends, is just to say, you know, or if somebody comes and says, you know, I have all this information on you, I can blackmail you if you don't push what I want you to push. My friends, it doesn't really take a lot. It doesn't take a lot. But it does take a lot for people like Dr. Malone and Dr. Zelenko and other people like them. You know, Geert Vanden Bosch, other people like them. People who have, you know, also prestigious degrees from Ivy League universities, and they're coming and they're saying, well, guys, I'm sorry, but here's the problem with what we're doing. Here's the problem with the mainstream narrative. Here's the problem with what they're pushing, what's being sold. You know, they're coming and saying, here are the positives, here are the negatives. Here's why we shouldn't do this, you know? My friends, again, I look at those people. This is how I've always operated. I've always looked at the people that are coming and saying, you know, when everybody's looking in one direction, you know, when the illusionist, when the magician has the entire world looking where he wants them to look, I was always the one looking for other things, looking in the other direction, looking at the other hand, my friends. You understand what I'm saying? Like, that's me. And what I'm seeing is, when I look at the other, the side that's coming and saying, well, maybe there's a problem, I'm seeing a lot of interesting things, a lot of validity. Not because I want to necessarily see it. My friends, you know, I had this whole thing in the beginning of this pandemic where I was like, well, you know, let me wait and see. Maybe this stuff, you know, I heard a lot about the technology used with cancers. I was like, wow, this is amazing. You know, let me just wait and see, because they haven't done the tests yet, right? They haven't done full, robust studies. And then I saw, my friends, how the product was being sold. And sometimes when you look at how the product is being sold, how the product is being sold and being pushed, my friends, listen, I work in, one of my things is sales. I work in the liquor industry, the wine industry, and I look at how people sell things, not just products, but I look at how people sell me on services, on their idea. And when I see that somebody is pushing something to the point of, you know, where they're willing to, like, you know, ostracize people and bully people and coerce people, my friends, the method of sales, the tactics of sales, tells me everything I need to know about the product that's being sold, my friends. It's one of those things where it's like, quick, before the person realizes what's up, you know? Quick, you know, sell it to them, give it to them, before they realize the jig is up, right? My friends, a lot of people realize the jig is up just from the methods. Just from the methods. Again, now we're seeing, again, as I mentioned before, you know, anytime a cult is exposed, what do? They double down. They say, no, the people that are speaking against us are, you know, they're just haters, misinformation, they're coming, you know, they whatever, you know, they're just party poopers, right? And those people that, you know, the people that are selling the product, or the idea, or the concept, or whatever it is, the movement, they sweep things under the rug. They sweep problems under the rug. They hide, they coerce, they gaslight, they lie by omission, or openly lie, misconstrue information. They what is it called? They blackball and they smear opponents of it. My friends, this is classic, right? But, as I said before, guys, or at the beginning of this video, this is not the first time in history, my friends, where there's a mainstream narrative, and the entire world is headed in one direction. And and there comes a person, and he says, "Well, listen, I'm sorry to tell you guys, there's a God." In the words of the minister from Coming to America, there's a God somewhere, up on high. Guys, there's a God. Not only is there a God, my friends, but Hashem is watching. He's watching. I always tell people when I get into discussions with them, usually it's online, on Twitter, I say to them, first of all, you should know Hashem is watching. And not like these people care, because they don't have even a concept of Hashem. They really don't. Even the ones who claim they're so-called religious. I say, first of all, Hashem is watching. If you think nobody sees what you're doing, if you think you're not going to have to answer for what you're doing, whether it's in this world or the next world, I hope it's for your sake it's in this world, because if you have to answer for it in the next world, you're screwed. Okay? And the second thing is that what was the second thing? Is that I always tell them, oh, you're going to remember this discussion. My friends, whatever people were saying, and people were being accused of talking about conspiracy theories 6 months prior, a year prior, a year later, it turns out it was true. Stuff was created in a lab, oh, conspiracy theory. Turns out it was true. This is like this, oh, conspiracy theory. Turns out it was true. My friends, I always tell people, Hashem is watching you, and I tell them, you will remember this discussion in a few months. Honestly, at this point, I like to tell them, you're going to remember this discussion in like a month or two. This is how fast things are happening, my friends. This is how fast things are, One day it's conspiracy theory. Another day, my friends, it's actually something that was a conspiracy. Somebody conspired, and it's actually a fact. And there's no way, and of course, when you bring the facts to people, they say, and they start explaining why. There's always an explanation, right? There's always an explanation, just like with a cult I mentioned. But guys, this is not the first time in history where we had a mainstream narrative, and one person went against them, the mainstream narrative, and said, listen, there's a God. All your things that you guys created, that you think are so wonderful, that are, basically, not worth the paper they're printed on, and not worth the sand that they're carved out of, or the rocks or the stone that they're carved out of. And there was a lot of pushback, and my friends, that same group of people who pushed back, they eventually wanted to reach Hashem in their own, again, and I mentioned this before, in their own convoluted way, just like with, some of these people who claim to be religious, right? They're trying to reach Hashem in their own convoluted way. And my friends, we know, as we say in WBC Radio, now we know the rest of the story. The Tower of Babel collapsed. The nations were dispersed. They started speaking different languages. They couldn't understand each other. My friends, I'm telling you, I have a weird feeling that very, very soon, this entire Ponzi scheme / House of Cards / Tower of Babel is going to come crashing down in a very big way. And the only thing, and I'm going to talk about this in the next video, my only concern, and I've been telling this to people, friends and family. Some of my friends and family are like, you're crazy. Some people are like, well, it wouldn't surprise them. My friends, a lot of these people at the front, at the heads of these agencies, you're talking about the CDC, the World Health Organization, FDA, and also these pharma companies, my friends, unfortunately, the people who are the heads of these companies are Jews. And when the jig is up, my friends, when the jig is going to be up, we know Jewish history, we know world history. Who gets blamed? My friends, who is going to get blamed for this? This is really, it's a rinse repeat, very, very sad, very kind of just perennial story in history, unfortunately. And that's my only concern here, friends. So, with that, I just want to say, again, I gave everybody a bracha to be the Avraham Avinu, you know, in your community, with your friends and your family. Listen, I know it's tough. I know you have a lot to lose. Listen, you guys have a lot more to lose than I do. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I have a little bit to lose. I had a friend tell me recently, you know, if I were you, I wouldn't post, you know, kind of be so public about your stuff on Facebook and especially LinkedIn. I was like, you know what, man? I'm a former Soviet citizen. You know, granted I was a kid when we left, but my parents are dissidents. We're dissidents. You know, I'm a kid of dissidents. Okay? Ultimately, you know, I don't have a KGB gun at my head, but listen, in the words of Bernie Mac, I ain't scared of you. I ain't scared of you, you know what, okay? I ain't scared of anybody, my friends. In that respect, okay? In that respect. So, we have to stand up where we can. I understand there's things to lose. There's you know, positions to lose, money to lose, whatever it is. But my friends, as I said before, Hashem is watching. Hashem knows who is who. And at the end of the day, my friends, the people you're going to be talking to will remember the discussion sooner than later. Alright guys, talk to you soon.